This is Governor Bobber. Like, good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, this is Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey. Good day, doctors.
Go! You're watching Dr. Politics.
Hey everyone, it is February 7th, 2025. We're a week away from Valentine's Day. And it is gonna get cold and icy in the DMV. You know, it's time for Florida days. Where right now, if I were in Florida, it would be, let's see, what is the temperature in beautiful Central Space Coast, Florida? Well, Palm Beach is 74 degrees.
Make us jealous.
Melbourne is 70 degrees right now. Yeah, so it is going to be, we're going to have some more snow and ice. But did you notice there was no salt to be found at Home Depot online? I went to look online to see if they had salt. Because I'd rather them deliver to me than me going there and picking it up. Because that means I have to carry it twice. Well, if they drop it off here, I'm only carrying it once.
Yeah.
But my local Safeway did have a bag, so I got Morton's ice melt.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But
I don't think not to interrupt you, but I don't think it's gonna last long, is it? Because it's gonna be in the 40s on Sunday.
But Monday and Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
But I am convinced this last Thursday, if it was a different regime at the White House running the GSA, the government would have been shut down.
Maybe.
Opposed to just a code blue. But
it's amazing that Virginia and Maryland shares this because we're sort of the home of the swamp. And I think it's a very nervous time now when they talk about government workers and cutting government, which I think is long overdue. But I think our Congressman Connolly, Warner, the Senate, they're going nuts. So
Jerry Connolly went nuts the other day in a hearing.
Yeah.
But why is this like? I need to ask our friend who works on the Hill. Is this like a Democrat thing that they all wear masks indoors still?
I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. But Connolly is, as Fairfax County has moved further into the left, become more like Montgomery County. He's moving. It seems further to the left as well.
Well, he's always been kind of lefty. He got really outraged when he ran for Board of Supervisors chairman when somebody asked him he's going to run for Tom Davis's congressional seat. But Tom Davis never should have resigned that congressional seat. He never should have said, "I'm not running." He should have run. That seat would be ours if Tom Davis,
Well, I don't know. It's gotten bad now, but anyway, I don't know if in Maryland there's the same sort of attitude or concern because you guys have a lot of government workers, I assume as well. And if you really cut government, think how tough it would be on like a Fairfax and Montgomery and just this whole region.
But if they can cut the government, but
I'm still in favor of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it could be kind of tough.
I think there's jobs outside of the government too that people can go work for.
Yeah, of course.
But with USAID being shut down, because they funneled a lot of money to a lot of left of center nonprofits and stuff like that.
That's true.
Hey Don, when we were reading the transgender comic books, Iraqi Sesame Street. You thought that was bad. They staged a coup in Bangladesh. I wonder if it's like, since when did USAID become CIA light? I thought that was the CIA's job to take down governments.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
I
the thing,
agree.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting time. I mean, we don't know how much of this, you know, movement by Trump is going to really stay. I mean, the Democrats, the liberals, they're going to throw up and challenge whatever they can in court, and
Yeah.
they have. But I don't think, and the media, to me, as I watching this whole as all these things are developing, to me it seems, the media is, will talk about, well, Trump lost this or Trump lost that, and I don't really think that this time around Trump is thinking about that he has to win every battle. I think some of the things they're putting up there and putting out there are specifically for the purpose of diverting the Democrats' attention for things, because they're getting all lathered up. I mean, they got all lathered up about DEI, and I know you wrote something about DEI yourself, David.
Yeah.
And they get all that. Trump moves on. He's got some other things he's doing. They're still fighting DI, but now we've got something else going on. Trump is trying to get something else going on. And then if they get to that one, Trump moves to something else. If he gets just a portion of what he throws, he puts up there through, then that's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he only can shut
throw the
down
volume out
half,
there.
I think even if he can only shut down a quarter of the government that he wants to shut down, that'll be a big improvement.
Oh yeah.
Big improvement,
That's
And then
true.
JD Vance will just have to do it when he's president. He'll just have to cut the other quarter.
Yeah, I mean, the government grew under Biden. There's no reason it should have grown. We're just, at levels that are just ridiculous. I mean, I can go back 50 years in time to my father's days and at the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And he thought it was bloated back then. And it's only gotten worse.
Imagine what he'd think about it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they think about how much space the GSA has occupied over the years. They continue to, scoop up more office space, right? Now they're holding leases that are largely empty when they let people work from home. Now now Trump wants them back. But if they get a slimmed down government, I mean, if people take the buyout, if they decide, if they can effectively cut the size of government, not only are they saving salaries, but they'll be saving, the overhead costs, the office costs, and everything else that goes along with it. And please tell me why we need a government this big. I mean, as conservatives, we all want smaller government.
Yeah.
And this would be something else if we could actually get it for a change.
And here's something else, right? I've always wondered about this. The Census Bureau has their big party every 10 years, right? They hire people. Why do they have this beautiful building out in Suitland, Maryland? Could we not make like the Census Bureau like a part-time agency where, I understand that, it takes time to ramp up, but let's say, we do census every 10 years. For eight of those 10 years, you don't do anything because you're really not doing anything. You're not,
Well, I mean, I'm not going to completely defend the size of government here or size of Census Bureau, but I mean, I think part of that is that it takes a while to ramp up for the census, that 10-year project, but then in between they're tweaking things. I think somebody still has to count the population in between. And so they're still doing that. Do they need to be
sampling now? They're not really even counting. I thought it's all just sampling.
Yeah, I don't think they need to be the size that they are, but I think that's the case for a lot of government. Matter of fact, I'll throw this anecdote in here. So we had on church on Sunday. So the way our church operates is that the first Sunday of the month is what they call a fast and testimony meeting, and so the testimony part is that anybody in the congregation can go to the pulpit and say whatever they want to say for however long they want to say it, though they're encouraged to keep it.
That's a little dangerous, isn't it? Imagine if you had a politician that showed up.
There's been some interesting things. I got royally blindsided one year by a gay person, and boy, I tell you, it's like I didn't see it coming. I didn't know it was coming. And it really upended the meeting until someone else who was higher up in authority than me just kind of reoriented the meeting and just basically took away that entire message that person had tried to deliver. It was a planned, coordinated attack that weekend all around the region in Latter-day Saint churches. It was just showing once again, if the gay agenda, they all will orchestrate those things, that they just have that power. But the anecdote here is just that there's a lady in our congregation who works for the IRS, and she's not a conservative, but she got up there and she didn't want to be political because we're not supposed to be political. It's all about we're supposed to be about our faith. And she's kind of like, pray for the president, and she kind of threw in there also pray for the federal government workers, of which she is one, because I think she's worried, right? I mean, they're kind of like, we thought the IRS was going to expand. Donald Trump is saying,
Yeah, he's going to send them to the border.
Yeah, look, I mean, I love this woman. She's wonderful. But Young and I, we had dinner at her house a couple of months ago or whatever it was with another couple, and her husband, she just married within the last year or so. He also works for the IRS. That's how they met. But they were talking about their year-end bonuses, and I'm sitting here going like, "What?" It's like we can't pay these people enough money that they're counting. They're counting on the year-end bonuses. Please, okay. This is Elon Musk. Go after that too. It's like, if you can't get rid of the workers, get rid of the bonuses. What the heck?
What do they do that's bonus worthy at the IRS?
Yeah, I mean, what is that all about? Please tell me.
Well, I hope Musk can be successful.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, and I was just talking, it's like the difference between the left and us on the right, we stopped being right wingers. Like when we're with family, we talk about family. If we're at a party, we don't push our diatribe of our leftist, our right wing agenda on, we don't shove it down people's throats. While a leftist, they could be at a kid's birthday party and they can't shut their lefty message out, and it's very sad. It is very sad that they can't do that. We do that. And I think I'm of the mindset we need to kind of start always being in their face because they're always in our face. How would they like it if we went to their Church of Satan and started, criticizing? They wouldn't like that too much, but it's just really bad. I mean, they don't stop. And, as the government shrinks, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I know everyone's really sad that everyone at USAID lost their jobs, but what about all the millions of Americans that lost their job during COVID? What about all the people that lost their jobs, because of automation? I mean, what about all the people, that lost their jobs because of reckless spending by the Biden administration, where the tax increases that led to job losses? Why don't you have you don't have compassion for everyday Americans, but all of a sudden we're supposed to be crying a river because folks at USAID who probably been there for a long time, they probably have a nice pension, nice salary, they probably have a nice emergency fund set up, I'm sorry, I can't be that. I mean, it's sad they lost it, but I'm not gonna, belabor the point.
Didn't they put them on leave right now? I mean, they haven't had it. Yeah. It's not been right. So I guess, I mean, at least temporarily, won't they get paid for now?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And they're being paid right now.
Yeah.
And if they were smart, they would have just taken the early retirement deal.
Yeah. I mean, well, hopefully the unions have been successful there in getting a judge to put the pause on that. But I mean, I think if someone other than Elon Musk gets in there and actually makes the offer, maybe they make that offer again, then I think maybe that has a little more standing within the government.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, there's interesting things to see by that. why do we have a $7 trillion or whatever it is budget? Where the heck did that happen? I mean, it's like we have got to get control of this. This is ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I love how Musk is kind of blowing up, and Trump, they're blowing up the government, and just just the liberals' heads are just spinning. But I would love to have I'd like to see some Elon Musk action in Montgomery County. Maybe you'd like to see some in your neck of the woods too, David. I don't know.
Yeah.
But after this story about Montgomery County schools are not going to accept any more EV buses because of the problems they've had, I'm like, yeah, how much money did we spend in Montgomery County?
Well, also, I heard this last night. They've ended the gifted and talented program for all the younger kids in Maryland.
Yeah, I heard that. Audrey said that.
By the State Board of Education. So where do the gifted and talented kids go now?
Yeah,
as an alum, I'll say, if I weren't in that, I would have been bored out of my mind.
Yeah,
I've been drawing even more pictures on my desk than I was already.
Yeah, it's pulling everybody down to the lowest common denominator. Yeah. So you treat everybody as.
I think there is one problem with gifted and talented programs though sometimes, which is that they lower the bar on what the gifted and talented is. It's like it really should be the cream of the crop, right? It should be the kids that really need to be challenged. You don't start dragging a few people in for I'll call it like there's kind of a DEI movement within gifted and talented, right? They have to have this diversity. I mean, I remember when my kids were in when we moved, before we moved, my kids were at Kennedy High School, right, in Silver Spring.
Mm-hmm.
And the program there they had was like a leadership academy. But it wasn't, you think, oh, well, that sounds great. They got in. That's wonderful. But they also were starting to pull some lower end kids, some kids that probably wouldn't have qualified under normal means, but they had the right, skin color or, ethnic background. So they get accepted in too, even though their grades were substantially lower than some of the other students. It's like, well, what is this program? Are those kids going to be able to succeed and keep up? Or are they going to lower the standards of the program and the coursework so that they can keep up, but then the kids that are in there that are higher achievers are going to do what happens, which they still might get bored, right? Lots of issues.
It does no service to, because the gifted and talented program, there's tests you got to take. It's not discriminatory. It's the tests you take when you it's kind of like this. You put it's like, let's say Dave, you're not a programmer, are you? Unless you are, I'll use a different example. But what if I decided to we need a programmer, and Dave knows nothing about programming. He knows how to turn on a computer. He knows how to surf the web, so he knows enough. And if I made Dave a programmer, he'd make good money, but we'd have to fire him after 2 weeks because he wouldn't know what he's doing, or a month at the longest, And that's kind of like what they're doing with these gifted and talented programs when they lower the bar, frankly. I mean, the gifted and talented program from back when you and I, or Dave, or even when your kids were there, has been even watered down further since those days. Today it's even my old quantum teacher, Ralph Bundy, who taught the magnet at Montgomery Blair for many, 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 many years, and basically even stated, like, when we reconnected probably around 2009, maybe, I think it was, he talked about how it is how the magnet program is a pale imitation of what it once was. They've watered it down. They took out the critical thinking portion of it, which counts more, and they took that out. And as a result, it's not the same thing as it used to be, and people like Judy Daca, who was a vice principal at Montgomery Blair back in the day, she was one of the people that was leading the charge against the magnet program. She did not like the magnet program, nor did MCPS. They were very anti-magnet. And looks like the State Board of Ed is the same way. They're very anti-exceptionalism, basically. They want mediocrity.
Well, elections have consequences, right? In the end,
yes,
that's the thing.
And I'm hoping
not to play on David's book.
Yeah, there you go.
I can work that into every show, just kind of like Spiro Agnew.
Exactly. You know, we haven't mentioned Spiro Agnew in a long time, I think. I feel we haven't mentioned Agnew in like at least 3 shows. We
Yeah, I
haven't
don't know.
mentioned.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't remember. I don't remember you mentioned. I think. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who mentioned it last. You or David.
You know, Susan Baker last night started singing for me the Spiro Agnew theme song. I guess he had when he
Yes, he
ran
had his
for.
theme song. Yes, he did.
What?
So she burst into song, and I had never heard it. So I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's a
All
little
the-
bit different.
But back then, all the campaigns had like Nixon had a
Yeah,
had a
they used.
song.
Oh yeah,
Kennedy,
we had him in Virginia. We had him in Virginia. I remember, theme songs for
George
for
Allen had a
candidates.
great song, "Get on Your Feet." You know.
Oh yeah, that's right. At the convention, he played that. And
Yeah.
Glenn Youngkin likes "Spirit in the Sky." Da da da
Yeah.
da 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 da. Yeah,
You
so
know.
everybody has their own song, but in this case, they wrote it. The lyrics are personalized. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And by the way,
it's
I also
it's pop
think
music or something, right?
what's that? Didn't
It's
hear
like
that.
now it's usually just picking up on some pop music, and then the,
Yep.
then
Yeah.
then the bands
I
or
mean,
whatever
I
complain.
think, you know, as much as I dislike Bill Clinton, I'll tell you, his whole "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow" was actually a brilliant campaign song for him.
yeah, that's right.
Not to say our campaign song in 1992 wasn't bad. "Don't Worry, Be Happy." I thought was just fine too.
First
You
time I
know,
ever heard the Black Eyed Peas song, "I Got a Feeling," was Victory Night. Bob McDonald won in 2009. And I heard the song, and so I was associated with that. I was
So
associated
Black
with
Eyed Peas have 2 songs that people actually know now.
which I only know. I Got a Feeling, but
There's another one I can't think of it. They do have another song.
tonight's gonna be a good night. So
Yeah.
it was a good night.
And I think, this week, I think I know you guys, Dave was a little suspect in if Cash and Tulsi and RFK I think they get in. I think they get through.
Yeah, I think Cash gets in, although there's something holding him up right now. I forgot what it was. But I think you're right. I think all 3 get through.
Yeah,
I was
I mean,
surprised Hegseth. Originally, I predicted Hegseth wouldn't make it, but he made it.
yeah. The Wall Street Journal just had an article the other day about Tom Tillis, who'd been a no,
Yeah.
and how the White House and Hegseth themselves, they put on a furious last minute campaign to convince him. He had apparently told Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski he was going to vote no, which would have torpedoed the whole thing. And they worked on him, and they switched him to a yes, and that changed everything. And apparently apparently Collins and Murkowski were not happy about getting blindsided by that. But I think Hegseth is it'll be fine. I mean, the background stuff, some of the things that have come up have been, maybe a little unsettling and whatnot. But they are, I guess, unless he's been paying out tons of money, or there's a whole lot of other things. So no one's perfect. If he does the job, if he shows that he's a good defense secretary, then so be it. But I mean, for Gabbard and for RFK Jr. to get through the committee, I think that pretty much stamps it there. I think I don't think
And
that,
Susan Collins going to be supporting both of them, from what I understand.
yeah, I mean, as far as I know, right, they don't have any official no's on record from the Republicans right now. That can change with the vote, but they don't know of anyone who's not going.
Hey, do you think Mitch McConnell votes no just to be spiteful?
Well, I was thinking about that too. It's like, so Mitt Romney retires, and now and Mitch is on his way out, right? So now it looks like Mitch is taking Romney's place as the third Republican no vote on some of these things, and I'm like, I know the Republicans have a love-hate relationship with Mitch over the years. He was a great vote counter, and he could do a lot of things when he ran the Senate, when he was minority leader, when he was majority leader. He did a great job of trying to keep that whole coalition together. But it's almost as if, okay, I'm no longer in leadership. I'm going to probably be getting out of this business here. So I'm just going to go and do whatever. I don't necessarily have to stick with the crowd anymore. So it's like he's becoming a little bit of a wild card in a sense, and so
I wonder if he's getting a little senile too.
Mm.
He's a little old.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some of those episodes where he's had kind of those Biden-esque moments and things like that on a few occasions. So that would be unfortunate if it gets any worse than that.
But the reason we should always think highly of him is because, remember, he kept Merrick Garland off the Supreme Court.
Yes,
and he kept that seat open.
No, I mean, I think conservatives should thank him for that. Should never forget that he kept Garland out there. And after watching Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice, you were like, yeah, that was a good move.
We dodged a bullet with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, big time. So yeah, that was.
And
I
think
we'll see. I mean, it's been funny too because I see these tweets come through from Chuck Schumer about why they're Democrats are not not going to vote for this nominee or that nominee. It's pretty much the same thing every time. And I'm like, the Democrats are not like the Republicans. Republicans, I think, there are some Republicans who will give in a Democrat administration, a cabinet nominee some benefit of the doubt and consider voting for them, and will not necessarily vote straight party line. The Democrats, they're just like a bunch of sheep, the lemmings. It's like, okay, you cannot stray from the reservation. You must do this.
Yeah, they are a lot stricter on that. They punish.
I think the Bondi one, but
yeah.
But he's back in the Democratic camp on RFK and Tulsi. So, but yeah, they don't even consider the qualifications of anybody. It's just like, oh, Trump put him up for this person up for a nomination. Except for a guy, except for someone like Rubio, former, part of the Senate, coalition, the club, those kind of people usually get through pretty easily. But everybody else, it becomes a straight party line vote.
Hey, should the president nominate Chuck Schumer for something? So, he'll have to campaign against himself.
Well, I mean, my thing here is I just think it's ridiculous that Schumer is trying to go out there and say, I am, and the Democrats we're your beacon of virtue. We are there to hold the line against these bad nominees. And it's like, it has nothing to do with whatever qualifications it is. It is all it's an anti-Trump, it's an anti-Republican thing. It has nothing to do with those people who are up there. But it's virtually anybody Trump can throw up there as a nominee, they're going to go ahead and put this together and say, no. I mean, he was saying that about Russell Vogt. They've been doing that for all these people.
They would do that to Mother Teresa if she was around and President Trump appointed her to something. They would drag her name through the mud. Well, what about all the other poor people you couldn't feed? Yeah, sure, he did that, but there are a lot of people that went hungry too in Calcutta. Where was she? Calcutta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you could say you could nominate the Pope, and that would probably make the Democrats still vote in party line.
Yeah, they would.
Not that I like the Pope though.
No.
Yeah, they do that.
I would recommend nominating him.
They do that to Pope John Paul too, the Great. They do that to Pope Benedict. They do that to him, but not so much with the current Pope.
No, I think you're right. I think that.
And boy, I bet the Cardinals wish they could get a do-over on that one.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe they're probably as politically as far left as he is. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's right. I think what we've seen is that the Catholic Church, they have moved further to the left, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think
the only thing the really conservative one now is the
holdouts really are the African, cardinals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're still pretty conservative. They still stick to the beliefs, and they still stick to what Vatican I, Vatican II, but the U.S. cardinals, and a lot of those, You know, and so even when the current pope dies, there's probably there's always a likelihood that the next pope will be equally as liberal.
Yeah, because
more.
it's already because the voting pool, the electorate has been shaped by Francis. Now, who knows? Maybe there'll be a backlash within those folks.
Right.
But in fairness, the Catholic Church is, if anything, probably still more to the right than a lot of the mainline Protestant churches.
Oh yeah, no, I think yeah. I mean, they're just like a lot of these large religions. I mean, there's going to be divisions. I mean, I don't think you can avoid it when you're as large as something like the Catholic Church. And so you have people, their priests and the cardinals that are still hewing to the line and doing what it is. But more and more you have leadership. The higher leadership has been shifting the other way.
Yeah, people in the pews tend to be more to the right. My church is not going woke or anything yet, but it's always a concern that I have.
Yeah, there's a very Orthodox Catholic church in McLean. Paul's son or grandson is a deacon there. It's the church that Paul was a deacon at.
I remember that church because we had the funeral there. I was there for the funeral.
Our friend AJ Cook got married in that church.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Paul's funeral. It was packed that day.
I was there for that. So yeah, that was nice. I met Clarence Thomas there.
Yeah. There were a lot of good people there. I
shook his hand and it just wasn't appropriate, but I would have loved to gotten a picture with him. But of course, I didn't think it's appropriate.
But then we didn't have cell phone. We didn't have iPhones then. We didn't have cell phone cameras to do that. That's
right. But the great thing is, I saw Thomas and I went up and I shook his hand, and Thomas was finishing up with one person and then turned to me and I shook his hand. But then he stopped to make a final point to the guy. And I thought it was cool because he's still holding my hand while he's making the point to the guy. So I was sitting there holding Thomas's hand. So that was cool. Yeah, I like.
Yeah, we had Clarence Thomas speak at an AIM event many years ago, and so my kids got to meet him there.
Yeah.
So
Chris Plant was there too. He
was obviously much younger.
The thing is, I'm wondering with Trump, will Thomas or Alito maybe think of subbing out? I mention them because they're getting up there in age. Thomas more maybe than Alito, but I wonder if they'll think of stepping down to give Trump the pick to replace him within the first 2 years.
They probably will.
That's what I'm wondering, and because I think the others, other than Sotomayor, and I wish the best of health, so I don't speculate there. But other than that, I think most of them are still fairly young, and they could last a good bit longer. And Roberts has been on the court for a long time, but I think he was pretty young when he got on the court.
He was.
So I don't think Roberts is that old.
But you know what we learned last night, Don? Sandra Day O'Connor lived in Maryland.
We think that was her because Audrey read off the delegates from Maryland at the 80 convention, and there was a Sandra O'Connor. We think it might have been Sandra Day O'Connor.
But when we asked her, she said, yeah, because she lived somewhere in
Calvert, I think she said Calvert.
Yeah, Calvert County.
But I always associated Sandra Day O'Connor with Arizona, or maybe she moved.
I think she probably lived here when she got on the bench. I mean, we're talking, so she may have been like a federal judge in D.C. or something like that.
Yeah, maybe so. But
she was also on the short list of running for governor of Arizona.
Maybe I don't remember.
In 82, the talk was she would run for governor because she was on the Arizona Supreme Court there.
Yeah, I mean, that whole the whole thing with Alito and Thomas. I mean, I think that's been speculation for a while about should Trump win a second term, and if we control the Senate, is that something that would happen? That's a tough call for those justices because on the one hand they know they're getting older, but it is a lifetime appointment and there's a lot of things that go along with it. A lot of not necessarily just perks, but you do get a lot of respect and they're still showing that they're still sharp, right?
And there's still probably more they want to do. But here's the problem, though. I would say if they step down, chances are I don't think we would replace them with anyone as good, really, because in Thomas and Alito's cases, you have true originalists. Trump.
Well,
could
even
find
Kavanaugh has not been
yeah,
with us on everything.
other than Gorsuch.
Yeah.
The two, Barrett and Kavanaugh, are okay and certainly right of center for the most part, but I don't think they're in the originalist school of Alito or Thomas. I don't think. I'm not a court watcher, but I think that's the case. So
We
if
should have
Alito
Tom
or
Chipping
Thomas were
join
to
us
step down
sometime.
to replace them, I
Yeah.
still think the odds are we could get someone good. But I think it's still a downgrade because I don't know that you'd get two originalists like they are.
Well, you know, when somebody asked Joe Biden when he was running for president in 2020, or actually before, no, when he was VP, actually, somebody asked him, who would you like to, he basically says, Judge Wapner would be great on the Supreme Court. He's have got years of juris. And somebody goes, well, you know, Judge Wapner passed away. He's like, turns it, oh, I didn't know that.
You know who would be great? Judge Judy. Okay, eyes up here, not on your shoes. Or the classic, is not an answer. Is not an answer.
Yeah, you're right, David. The problem is that who's on the in the pool there, right? Who's on the bench, and I'm not.
Oh, you know what? I'd love to see Miguel Estrada be put up on the Supreme Court, just that piss off the left big time, because they blocked him in the Bush years. Miguel Estrada.
Okay,
so what about a Mike Lee or a Ted Cruz? I mean, sufficient?
Yeah, I think they both would be good.
John Yoo, I think, is good. He was a Bush administration guy. He's at Pepperdine or UCLA, the law professor there. And you'd have an Asian American that you could put on the Supreme Court. I think he'd be I guess he'd be the first.
Do you remember years ago?
Conservatives have been, they've been hoping for another Ronald Reagan, for what, 40 years or whatever.
Yeah.
There is only one Ronald Reagan.
And
so, can you duplicate an Alito or Thomas? I think in this day and age, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to find them. You just try to find someone close enough that will keep the court, swinging to the right and make sure that the decisions go our way.
Yeah. And if Roberts were to step down, Trump could get to elevate someone to Chief Justice. That would be probably a great opportunity.
Oh, Roberts actually a young guy. I don't think he'll be stepping down anytime soon.
No, I think Roberts stays. I think they all stay there. The only thing is, and I don't wish anyone ill, so hopefully everyone will be healthy. But Alito and Thomas are the two that I think maybe they might want to switch out because they're getting up there in age.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy here, right, is that if one or both of them step down while we can still control the Senate, we can then put someone in the court for another 2 or 3 decades potentially, right?
Yeah, that's
right.
So
because of the age of Alito and Thomas, that clock is ticking. So these windows of opportunity are here, but they're very narrow. It's possible we retain control of the Senate, in 2026, and that buys us some more time. But that is not a guarantee because the map is flipping, right? Republicans have to defend more seats in 2026.
Although I think we can pick up Michigan. I think in Michigan might be a pickup.
Yeah, Gary Peters' seat.
Yeah. And I think
especially if Buttigieg runs.
I think we can pick up New Hampshire too.
Maybe you have a shot there too, maybe. But Buttigieg, and who knows if he goes to Michigan, tries to run.
Because rumor is Scott Walker may be running for that Senate seat in
Wisconsin.
Not Scott Walker. Scott Brown.
Oh, in New Hampshire?
Yeah, he's thinking of running for that New Hampshire because he moved to New Hampshire.
Okay.
Well, he's been out of the spotlight for years too, though.
Yeah, evidently he was interviewed on Matt Boyle's show on XM. He was talking about he was taking care of his mother, and she had recently passed. So he basically kind of said, "Don't count me out. I may run."
Okay. Yeah.
But I think
New Hampshire swing. I mean, it can go either way.
I mean, we've had Sununu.
That's right. Why didn't one of the Sununus run? Why didn't one of the? I mean, the governor was popular, right? The last Sununu.
Yeah, Chris Sununu. Yeah.
Chris, and I remember the brother. Remember the brother was in the Senate for a bit.
Yeah. I think they might be feeling they'd have the ire of
The
'cause I know
Trumpsters.
the Trumps aren't fans of the Sununus.
No. You know what though, John Sununu, who I thought was a good chief of staff, I think he got a raw deal at the end. But the problem I think for Sununu is, you know what his key part of his legacy is?
What's
David
that?
Souter. David Souter.
Yeah.
He recommended Souter.
Oh yeah. Also, he also recommended Kennedy too.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that. Well, Souter was far worse than Kennedy. Kennedy was generally conservative.
Yeah.
But FDR apparently had the most Supreme Court picks at like 8. Jimmy Carter didn't have any. Reagan had 3. Trump had 3. I think Clinton had 2. Bush had 2. But Trump has a real potential of shaping the court. I mean, already he has. But could you imagine if he gets another pick or 2?
Yeah.
So that would be huge. That would be a big part of the Trump legacy. It would be the Supreme Court. It already is, but that'd be a big part of it.
And I think liberals are worried about that that Alito or Thomas could step down. I mean, and Thomas is a frequent target of the left, but if he decides to step down, under these current conditions, he's just going to get replaced by someone who's going to be on there for for 20, 30 years. So that does the liberals no favors at all. The liberals' best hope is that they can somehow manage to retake the Senate, in 2026 and just, run out the clock a little bit and then maybe regain the White House in 2028 and then have a chance to shape the court, kind of reverse some of these things that Trump has done. But so hopefully that's on the agenda, kind of as one of those back burner issues. Is like, we should think about what we want the court to be, before Trump leaves office, and see if there are any other opportunities that he has to go ahead and just put a bigger stamp on
And
it.
I think Mike Lee would be a great addition. I think if there's only one vacancy, give it to Mike Lee. Because he's got no skeletons in his closet. Mike Lee's a genuine nice guy. And
Don, an LDS member, correct?
Oh yeah.
He spoke at our Reagan dinner years ago.
Father was a Solicitor General.
Oh, okay, all right.
Rex Lee.
Okay, I didn't know.
But I mean, he'd be good. I think if there's another opening, Ted Cruz. Yeah.
Maybe you can find a spot for Ted Cruz somewhere. Maybe not necessarily the SCOTUS, but maybe a spot for him. But
I think SCOTUS would be great for Ted. Put him at SCOTUS, because that's a safe Senate seat. We're not going to lose that Senate seat.
Well, you think, but yeah. But I don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even if you put Cruz somewhere on the federal bench, it wouldn't be a bad thing. If you've got someone that can continue to lock up that seat. I mean, he's had some close elections, or at least predicted to have close elections, and then he wins by larger margins than predicted. So he's still pretty solid there in Texas, but the Democrats keep throwing people up against him because he's more vulnerable.
They spent a lot of money on him. I think we had this discussion before the election, and I'm glad Cruz won. But the thing with Ted Cruz, I just don't think he wears that well, with the average sort of person. And, I think he's good politically and all, but but he's been winning, so he's held the seat. But,
But I mean, it's like, he's been there for a while. I mean, I think there's, Bill Paxton could probably win that seat,
Yeah, I mean, a lot could. Well, look at Cornyn's very popular. It's just for some reason I think Cruz has a ceiling, or not a ceiling, but enough opposition.
You got George P. Bush, the land commissioner, and
I mean, if one of those seats becomes vacant, I mean, I don't see why Governor Abbott doesn't take a shot at that.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how outraged that would be if George P. Bush becomes the senator from Texas?
Yeah. And he's one that gets along with Trump. I think he's endorsed Trump.
Yes, he has. Him and Neil Bush is the other one from Silverado Savings and Loans.
I remember Neil. Yeah.
While Jeb and George were with
And then Marvin
There
Bush.
was Marco. They were actually, well, yeah, there was Jeb, and I think then they went to Marco after that.
Well, it's understandable if they went behind Marco because the Florida connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I supported Rubio in 2016 in the primaries.
He was my guy, and I went from Walker to Rubio.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I went Gilmore, Walker, Rubio, and finally
I like Jim. I like Jim too. Jim would be a great president.
Yeah, Jim was awesome, and he would have been. I wish Trump had put him in a higher position, maybe, or this time as well for maybe AG, because Gilmore was the Attorney General in Virginia.
He would have been great. He would have been great. I mean, Marco's great at Senate. I mean, over at the State Department, but I think Jim would have been really good at state as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
honestly, he should be putting George Allen and Bob Ehrlich in his cabinet too somewhere. But
I agree. I like Bob. Yeah, Bob would be great.
You know, but we've had, I think the most fun I have is watching the protesters. It's like, what do they think this is? These people, if you look at these protesters in front of USAID, Don, it reminds me of. Do you remember the Egyptian protesters that got rid of our friend Prime Minister Mubarak? I mean, do these guys think they're going to be able to just have a siege of the Reagan building? Because that's where USAID is, in the Reagan building.
Yeah, I mean, but the protests have not been overly large, right? I mean, the thing is that the protests aren't very big. And
it's just members of Congress.
I think, yeah, really. I mean, it does. I think it just kind of underscores kind of the feeling about how people are like, no, by and large, the public, I think, likes the idea of reducing the size of government. This may be a little more slash and burn than they expected, but still, I just, like I said before, it's like, Trump and, Elon, blowing up the government like this. This has been great. I mean, Trump 2.0 is completely different from Trump 1.0, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got nothing.
It's like going from Windows 95 to Windows XP. That's,
yeah,
that's how different.
How about from Bob?
Or Me. Me was horrible. Do you remember Me? Windows Me?
Yeah.
I mean, or CE is the other one that was really bad.
Yeah, it's like see when they started naming them like that, you already knew they were in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just.
And the casualty of all of that is Clippy, the original AI assistant, Clippy.
That's true. That's right. I mean, that's right. Clippy. That was the.
I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember
Clippy.
Like Clippy would come up like you start writing. It looks like you're writing a letter. How can I help you?
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. Yeah,
Clippy was always there for us, and we'd have to pay for Clippy.
I never thought of but I think you're right. With people want cutting a government, maybe this is too much of the wrecking ball for them. But they've been let down for so long, and they've been waiting for so long that I don't think it really hurts Trump so much, because at least they figure he's trying to do something, and at least he's serious. So I think that's what they're looking for.
I mean, to me, Trump can always tell voters or the public, he says, "Look, we have tried to do this. I mean, here's the evidence that we have tried to do this. We've offered buyouts. That didn't, we got some. We're going to go layoffs on top of that. If it all passes, legal muster. But just, we're shutting down USAID. We want to dismantle the Department of Education. But the liberals filed lawsuits and got judges to issue injunctions and hold us up and everything like that. But, they were seriously going, and the border thing, I mean, heck, more, they've really stepped up the enforcement there.
Yeah.
And I really, even though it's been a little too expensive for my taste at this point, the idea of using, Guantanamo Bay as a holding area for illegals is like, I love this.
I do too. It's great.
Yeah.
And look at this. All the leadership around the world, like Venezuela is going to take their gangbangers back. You've got Mexico.
Colombia, same way, taking them back.
Yeah.
And El Salvador has agreed to take some people and they promised to charge the U.S. a relatively low rate to take people in and stuff like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
And then you have that tribe in the cannibal tribe in Africa. So they'll take as many as you send. I don't know if you guys saw that meme.
No, but
this cannibal tribe in West Africa. They will take off.
Well, Phil Murphy's also stashing some in his house. So
yes, he is. Why don't we just go and arrest Phil Murphy for obstruction of justice? It is obstruction of justice. I mean, at the end of the day,
give out his address. Have him all show up to his house.
Yeah, and we should ask Chris Christie because he's living in Christie's house now. So I'm sure
they have a governor's mansion there in New Jersey.
Yeah. They got 5, I think, governor's mansions. One is at the beach.
I didn't know.
You never think New Jersey is big enough state to support 5 governor's mansions?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. It's not that big of a state.
No. But it's just interesting that they do have that. But also, I think what's happening over at, I think when I'm a little worried that when RFK becomes head of HHS, he'll ban the green food dye that comes in Shamrock Shakes.
Yeah,
who knows? He may ban Shamrock Shakes altogether. And that will be very sad. I will be greatly saddened. So this might be the last year I'm able to have a Shamrock Shake even.
I hope he doesn't go after the French fries.
Oh, he said that already. He's going after that Diet Coke. Oh.
Yeah,
he's not touching Coke Zero.
How many more days till Shamrock Shake is coming up soon?
Monday.
Shamrock Shake.
Yeah, Monday the Shamrock Shake is here. Monday.
See, Dwight, I remember the days when the Shamrock Shake just came in a regular cup.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a fancy cup. There was no whipped cream on top.
McDonald's you can't get a paper cup at McDonald's anymore. They're all plastic, which I think is funny.
Yeah, that's right.
And by those Shamrock Shakes, you can't drink them with a paper straw. You got to have a real straw.
I think you're right. Yeah, I hate paper straws. I never.
That's why you buy those in Prince George's County, because in PG County they'll give you a real straw.
Okay, good.
Actually, what they should do is, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Silver Diner when they give you a milkshake, they give you an extra large.
Yes.
Plastic straw.
Yes, I do know that.
That I think that's what they need to do for Shamrock Shakes. I mean, Steak and Shake should do that too, frankly.
Yeah. The Shamrock Shake. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Shamrock McFlurry too.
You know what we should do, Dwight, is we should
do a live show for McDonald's. Yeah, I like that.
We should lobby McDonald's to issue the Shamrock to do that every year on Reagan's birthday. That's when they should start doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they should. I mean, they start pumpkin spice in July.
Well, I mean, Reagan had Irish heritage, right? So
yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So what? Shamrock Shake, Ronald Reagan. Let's do it.
I'm fine with them even throwing in some Jelly Belly jelly beans in there too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like the jelly beans. Yeah, that's right.
And it was not just any jelly beans; it was Jelly Belly.
Yeah,
jelly beans.
It was, yeah.
You know, when you buy stuff from the Reagan Museum store, they always sent you like 8 or 9 little bags of those jelly beans.
Yeah.
They're like little small, they're like little appetizer size.
Well, you know, his favorite cologne is Carol's Royal Briar, and I've got that. You can buy that at the museum, and I brought the bust at the museum too.
Mm-hmm. So, and I know,
and the Reagan tie. I have the Reagan tie.
Yeah, Don used to have a whole bunch of the Reagan busts he'd sell at the AIM conferences.
Yeah,
okay, cool. Yeah,
yeah.
But I mean,
this is the one I've got.
Yeah. Good. But didn't you also used to sell the smaller ones at the? I seem to remember, like when we go to CRP, we'd sell those.
I think the guy who did it had smaller ones. I don't know. I got this from a guy who had. I think he was in Georgia. He had sculpted these, and I don't know. There was some dispute about whether or not we had paid them for everything. You know, as far as I know, we did, but I think that's the last one we had, unless there's some more flying around somewhere.
But I mean, we've had we're almost at extra innings. So
we are, yeah.
Yeah, I know, time flies. So final thoughts, David, go.
Well, I had fun last night in Maryland at Mama Lucia's. Excellent place, great group. And
how'd you like the pizza compared to other places you've been?
I thought the pizza was great. I mean, I don't recall it. I do recall at Stained Glass Pub, it was great pizza. I think it was on par. I think Mama Lucia's was on par.
Mhm.
So excellent place. And I should have another column up this weekend. I think it's going to be on USAID and why it's really not fixable, savable. You'd have to get rid of it. And so David Shepard at Substack, and Shepard spelled funny, Shepherd. So check me out. But otherwise, that's about it. I hope that the wintry mix isn't so bad tomorrow. And then Sunday it'll warm up, so that'll be good. But anyway, that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts, Don Irvine.
Final thoughts. Well, I don't know. I think Trump is on the verge of getting a third victory with the media and lawsuits, because Paramount, who owns CBS News, is in discussions to settle the lawsuit. Now, Trump's lawsuit was a $10 billion lawsuit about that Kamala Harris interview with Bill Whitaker. If they settle it, obviously it'll be for something somewhere in the low millions. But you notice after the election, ABC News, they settle. Money goes for Trump's presidential library. Meta settles for $25 million. 22 million of that going to the library. So he's got like $37 million from those two lawsuits just for his library.
That's great.
So then there's CBS. Now there's some pushback from the executive producer, who stands by, that interview and the editing and everything like that. But it is interesting because, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, had requested, and I believe he's received the full transcript of the program of that particular interview as to do this. So Paramount, their interest in this really is because they're trying to merge with Skydance Media, which is run by David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison of Oracle, and they want to get that merger done. And I think they feel that, if they can settle this lawsuit, that's a little more palatable to the administration.
And David's the conservative, right? Or is Larry the conservative? One of them is like
Larry, I think, has given a fair amount of money. That which continues to underscore how much influence Trump has had, how much he shifted the kind of liberal Silicon Valley people his way. I mean, we've had libertarians. I mean, Peter Thiel, and David Sachs. They're big libertarians. But he's sucked in, for contributions, for the inauguration, right? Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people, which has just steamed the left, right? They thought they had these guys in their hip pocket all the time, and guess what? No, it's not happening. And Meta, when they shifted their whole fact-checking operation, they're going to shift them from California to Texas. They're dismantling the way it's going to be. They're going to emulate what Elon has done with Twitter, with X, and have community notes. The Trump effect this time around is just huge. It's amazing for that. The DNC picked a new chairman, the chairman of the Minnesota Democratic Party, or the Farm Labor Party. Nothing new is going to happen there, though, right? It's like,
yeah, I've got a picture, Don, of the new leadership.
Did I set you up for this? What was that?
No, I was going to talk about this also.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So there's nothing new. I mean, here the Democrats are, they're struggling, and they pick this guy. They just have this terrible form, as they were going through this, which were basically all hosted by MSNBC people, right? It was just such a
Right. Did you hear that black guy? He said he's proud to be the first Afro-Latino cisgendered male to be in leadership at the DNC. And, I think the last black chair they had maybe in Ron
Brown.
Yeah, Ron Brown.
Maybe so. Oh, Jamie Harrison.
He's Jamie Harrison, right? He's replacing Jamie Harrison, who's the current.
Okay, I didn't realize he was
South
black.
Carolina. Yeah.
And David Hogg is
David Hogg.
Yeah, David Hogg. Oh my gosh.
That's ridiculous.
From the Parkland series.
Yeah. And then finally, just kudos to President Trump for basically slamming the book on males in women's sports, on the transgender policy. I watched a little bit of his speech as he signed his executive order, giving Riley Gaines a lot of credit. She's definitely been front and center in this, and I didn't even realize. I mean, he mentioned a young girl who'd suffered a traumatic brain injury after getting in a volleyball game after getting spiked in the head by a guy who was playing on the girls' team. Yeah, she never could play again. Apparently, it was a result of that. She was there at the ceremony. So yeah, just once again, it was underscoring why you can't have people who are born as males. I'm identifying as a female or I'm transitioning, playing against women. I mean, this is completely unfair. So thank you, President Trump, for doing that. This was long needed. And the Biden administration just showed how spineless it was on this issue. So back to you, Dwight.
Well, today is Wear Red Day, hence I got the red shirt on, and it is Heart Health Month, Don. So one of our writers for the club newsletter did a nice little article about America's heart health. And it talks about how the Doge economy, and it's a great article. And I like how they mention things like the cowboy poetry readings and all that stuff we fund. If the United States of America were a person, they would have a blood cholesterol level well over 500, be over 1,000. That's how bad. So Caroline Spencer does great articles, great reporting. Her dad's a cardiologist, so it's great. It's like, I think it's great how she tied the two together, and so it is. So it's hard to live heart healthy. It's and talks about how it is pretty much criminal, and how if a doctor ever had a patient like this, they'd basically put him on bed rest and a strict 200 calorie a day diet and emergency angioplasty, frankly. And that's what Elon Musk is doing, emergency angioplasty to our bloated government, highly saturated spending, in things for cowboy poetry readings, as well as transgender and spending coup d'etats in Bangladesh, So again, it is hard. So if you haven't, get your heart checked out if you feel like it, but it is Heart Truth Month. Also, we've got the other stuff is coming up. Governor Wes Moore wants to tax my pizza delivery by 75 cents. I'm sorry, Governor. How about you cut some spending? You're going into the Maryland Pizza Club is going to take a position against you. That's what pizza lovers all over the state of Maryland. We do not appreciate having to pay 75 cents more. And if that wasn't bad enough, now they want to do what they are trying to do is when you trade your car in, Don, they want to tax that as income.
Well, the way I understand it was that they were, they were going to limit the amount of the value of the trade-in because that reduced the price of the sale and therefore the sales tax that they could collect. So they're setting like an absolute cap on that. And I'm like, are you kidding? It's like, this is all part of how cars are bought and sold by a large majority of people. And then now you're telling me, if people have got under normal circumstances when they could have gotten $15,000 on their trade-in,
$30,000. They are just, and people count on that trade-in value. What they're trying to do is they want to put basically this is their war on the less affluent who don't really necessarily can't afford to pay the 6% sales tax on a huge, like let's say you buy a $35,000 car, you get a $15,000 trade-in. They'll probably cap it at something ridiculous, like $5,000, so you still have to pay tax on $30,000. That's a lot of money for some people, in the state of Maryland. What did you do with Larry Hogan's surplus, Wes Moore? What did you do with it? He left you with billions.
There's a Wall Street, and not to interrupt your time, I just quickly, Wall Street Journal had a column last week about Maryland and Wes Moore's tax hikes, which would make Maryland on par with New York and California in terms of taxes.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are the best people.
there was an editorial, I mean, about the Californication of Maryland,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
which is what I've been complaining about since O'Malley's days, because every time it seemed like when we had O'Malley here,
hmm
he was doing exactly that. He was looking to California, seeing what they could do, and then trying to implement the same policies here. We got a breather, with Hogan, but Wes Moore he's picked that up with at a rapid pace. It's like, yeah, as the Journal pointed out in their column, their editorial on this Californication of Maryland, it's just that the last time, which was under O'Malley, when they raised taxes on the wealthy, tax receipts dropped because people left the state.
Yeah. I mean, Dave, elections have consequences.
Well, that's right. And
Let's
my
do one more
concern
time.
my concern with that is that it could hurt Virginia, because you may have a lot of Marylanders figuring, well, I'll just go to Virginia, have lower taxes, go to Loudoun County. I don't want to give them ideas. The elections have consequences. Yeah, I don't want to give any ideas.
Or they'll go to Pennsylvania.
California has already suffered from some of this because people have left California, and they've moved to Arizona, Nevada, Utah,
Florida, no income tax.
Right.
Arizona. I mean, they ruined Arizona. Arizona was a solid red state. New Mexico used to be a solid red state.
Yeah.
Colorado used to be a solid red state.
Nevada was much more Republican. We had Paul
Laxalt. Remember, Paul Laxalt was the senator and governor there.
Yeah, the great
years.
Paul Laxalt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Utah's been able to hold out, but they have been overrun by Californians who have pushed up the housing prices, making it unaffordable for native Utahns to stay. It's really hard.
Cool. And that's all I've got. We'll see everyone next week. Enjoy the Shamrock Shakes, everyone. I think next Friday we're going to do our Shamrock Shake.
we all should have one with us.
Yes, we can make that happen. We've done that before. We'll make it happen.
A Valentine's Shamrock Shake.
That's right.
Am I gonna be okay? Yeah. Anyways, we'll figure it out. Okay, cool. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Good night.